Doug thought about it and spoke. Yeah, I know. It was an easy choice, though. Even if I could have magically completed the mission myself, I have a feeling you all would have done the same for me. In the firelight, he saw them all slowly nod, not because they admitted out of guilt, but because it's true. Someone else spoke up. It's alright either way. I'm pretty sure we can still complete the mission. We might not be at full strength, but we'll have the highest probability for success now. Everyone thought on that point a moment, then the guy continued. It's probably what you were thinking anyway, right? He was speaking to Doug. Doug responded, that's exactly what I was thinking. They'll be tired and lazy by the time we'll be recovered, rested, and on their front doorstep. There's the matter about supposing to actually recover the engineers in any semblance of reasonable time. Doug's thought trailed off, unsure of where to go from there. The group thought about it, and someone responded. We'll have someone stay here with the injured, and you can hit them hard before sunrise. The engineers will have to be resourceful and figure it out. I've seen an entire engineering wing get trapped in active shooter situations before, and I wouldn't want to mess with them. The group nodded and finished their dinner. Someone in one of the tents stirred. The medic got up from eating and crawled in their tent to check on them. Within 20 minutes, we had a new addition to the group. Doug looked around the camp circle and counted that 2 were still unconscious. The medic would have to stay behind with someone running security, which meant they'd be down to 4. They'd be down 4. Doug felt something come up under his arm and almost made him knock his bowl over. It was empty, though. Challenger must be hungry. Doug went and climbed through his bag and brought out a bag of doggy kibble. This made Challenger go nuts, and she started hopping up and down on her back legs like a happy child. Doug gave her a stern look, and she planted her butt back down and tried to stop her tail from wagging. He filled the bowl over halfway with food, and she waited patiently, everyone watching now to see if Doug was going to get eaten instead of the food if he didn't hurry up. He backed up and gave her the thumbs up, and she went for it. The food was gone in moments, and she was happy. He squirted some water in the dish, and she drank it until she was done and then went off to be by herself for a few minutes. It was a paper bowl, so Doug threw it in the fire and washed off his camping utensil with some snow and wiped it off and put it back in his pack. Everyone else was done collecting water for a bit, so he used the clean water to fill up his pack supply. It was barely staying warm enough to not freeze. Doug didn't want to check the temperature on his watch. Everyone sat quietly and patiently, waiting for more decisions or thoughts to come out. Every few minutes, someone would zipper button something up a little bit more. Everyone was sitting directly in the snow, having made imprints exactly how they wanted to sit. It was funny how that worked. You were so insulated and waterproof that you could sit in snow for hours, and it was like a comfy chair. Someone got up and started partitioning the stumps that Doug had brought on his makeshift sled. He spoke up after a few seconds. I'll take first watch. Everyone should go crash. Everyone looked around and nodded. Doug was exhausted. He patted on his leg and nothing. He looked at his band and saw which way the arrow was pointing and then pressed a button on his wristband. Normally, the further Challenger would get, the collar would vibrate more frequently the further she got. This allowed her to move back and forth and use it like an echo locator. If it vibrated less, she was headed in the right direction. If he pressed the button, it'd ping her and let her know he was looking for her. Doug didn't yell or scream for her because it was late and the sound would travel. Instead, he got ready and crawled into bed. He got nestled into a sleep system that someone had set up for him, and he saw that they didn't know what to do with the smaller pad. He grabbed the dog bed and stuck it by his feet where Challenger was ideally going to lay down. He adjusted each of his layers properly, making sure each was dry and each was zipped up. They were all oversized, breathed great, and were very comfortable. He was starting to doze off with his rifle in his sleeping bag, wondering why Challenger had never come to bed, when he heard the loudest wolf howl he'd ever heard in his entire life. Before he even had a chance to facepalm, the wolf had already taken a breath and let one out even louder. Doug was pretty sure everyone in the camp just urinated themselves if they needed to go even remotely at all. He pulled his covers over his head as if to distance himself from what had just happened. Inside, though, he was very proud of Challenger. She was trying to balance search heritage with the mission at hand, and she was doing an amazing job. He didn't mind if she went out and did that. As he laid there waiting for her to come back, he thought maybe she was looking for her mom or siblings. He thought it was possible, but he also thought that maybe it was a warning. a warning that she was here and that she owned the freaking entire area for the night. Doug started to drift off, and a short bit later, in crawled Challenger. She was extremely happy with herself. Challenger went past her dog bed and flapped down right on top of Doug. He wiggled around sideways to grab her pad and moved it to his free side and slid partially onto it. She scooted over more, and then they shared the two pads together and fell fast asleep. Chapter 20, Doug, Go Time, Pre-Dawn, Day 2. Doug woke up with a jolt. Had he slept in? He checked his watch. He still had a few hours before dawn, but based on his old schedule, it felt like he'd slept in. They hadn't got him up to do sleep watch. It sort of bummed him out, but he was okay with it also. He wiggled back and forth until he finally got out from under the massive dog. After he was free, he dug through his pack and found a fresh pair of socks. He put a fresh pair of socks on and then got his boots back on and went to see how it was going. There was hustle and bustle of everyone getting ready to go. Breakfast was already nearly done, and there was a fresh pile of sticks and water was going nonstop from the water boiler. Someone brought Doug over some food, which he graciously accepted. Someone explained to him that they let him sleep since he'd done so much. He thanked them. The food was delicious. The medic was asleep, but Doug asked anyway, softly conversing over the glow of the campfire in the snow pit. "Will we ever get our last two buddies awake?" Two of the guys looked at each other and everyone shook their heads. A third spoke softly. "We're going to post a guy up here with the medic, and this is going to remain base command. If they try to come and get us, we're going to shred them to pieces, which will leave their base weak. Otherwise, you guys take their base, and we'll take up the rear." Doug nodded and finished his breakfast. The rest of the team, sans the two unconscious team members, got up and had breakfast. Soon the fire would have to be put out, so it didn't alert the opposing force. Everyone ate as much of the combined meal as they could and drank or collected all the water they needed. Press checks happened all around, and the fire was put out, and it was time to go. Doug held the map out so everyone could see. He turned his compass watch on and showed them where they needed to go and how to get there. Doug had been in this area before fighting fires. A large swath of the area had burned down over the summer. The team would follow the tree line so they wouldn't be walking through a kill zone of cleared forest with virtually no cover. Everyone liked the idea, and off the group went, with Challenger trotting along, wondering what was going on. By Doug's estimate, they had to make the couple-mile hike within the hour to be to the dam barely prior to sunrise. At least a mile of the hike would be up a steep grade, since they were dropped off below the dam instead of behind it. Everyone in the group was in good shape, though. All of their packs were back at base camp, and they only had their rifles and battle kit, which include armor mags and IFAKs to cover first aid. The group had been making good time when they got within about a half a mile of the dam, and something started to seem off. Doug put his hand up, and everyone stopped and checked their sectors. He pressed his hand down, and everyone crouched down. To his surprise, Challenger also got down. He pointed to everyone, then pointed to the ground, and they all nodded. Doug had a bad feeling that there were snares in the area. This would be the perfect spot for them. He doubted there'd be anything like C4, but he could imagine a lot of irritating noisemakers or sharpened logs, possibly also sharpened sticks in the dirt with feces on them. This area was all snow, though, and there weren't many dry spots. He wasn't sure which traps to even look out for. There could be old traps under snow or new traps above the snow. They walked for about 20 yards and came upon the first one. Doug put his hand up again and everyone stopped. He pointed to one and made a hand motion that looked sort of like a dolphin jumping in the water. Everyone nodded or gave a thumbs up. And over the trap they went, Doug paying special attention to the ground. He dearly hoped there weren't spike pits. Doug noticed someone towards the back of the line documenting the traps on a notepad. Challenger saw the tripwires better than any of them, and she was naturally walking around them. She wouldn't lead, though, because she didn't fully grasp where they were going. Within 10 more minutes of this, they were at a spot they could see the dam's infrastructure, then got back down to conference if they wanted. Ideally, they would have wanted to pull further back, but that involved them sitting around the traps and tripwires. Light was starting to crest the land, and within minutes the sun would be shining directly on the crew. The dam was still in the shadow. Everyone looked through either binoculars or the rifle scopes to scout the infrastructure and area. They only saw 2 people outside. Everyone else must be asleep or exhausted. The two people had some sort of weird cannon thing they'd set up, and there was a flag they had posted claiming the dam.